Yeah, I'm focusing on preventing feline behaviour problems. So I'm going to start by talking about how to provide a suitable cat-friendly environment, which in some ways will go a long way to preventing some of those behaviour problems in itself. Then I'll move on to the behaviour problems themselves, and I'm covering inappropriate toileting, urine spraying, aggression to people, whiz through aggression to cats, and scratching the furniture. These are the sort of problems that I normally see as part of my job as a behaviourist. There's tons more. So when providing a cat-friendly home, the basic requirements need to be met. Physical needs, such as an appropriate diet, access to water, proper veterinary care to make sure the medical needs are met. There needs to be sufficient space, particularly in a multi-cat household. There needs to be enough space for all the cats in the household. There should be opportunities for species-specific behaviours, like Trudy's mentioned, hunting, chemical communication, all those things that cats like to do. They need to have the opportunity to do that at home. And resources, so the things that a cat values in their territory, they need to be provided in an appropriate way. So food, like we've heard, they should all be fed separately if possible. The amount of times the owner will put the food down and all the cats in the household come down to that one space, and none of them want to be there, but they have to be because that's where they get their food. So that's a really negative situation, and there's lots of negative behaviours you might see there, like hissing. Some cats will wolf their food as quickly as they can just so they can get back to being by themselves again. Water is important to be provided appropriately because cats are so prone to kidney problems. Some cats will prefer running water, others might prefer still water, so finding out what your cat prefers and then providing that for them is important. High and safe resting areas are important to help a cat cope with a stressful situation. So a lot of cats like to be up high, they like to survey the territory, but they don't want to be right in the action. So if you can provide high places for them to be, it gives them an extra sense of security where they know what's going on, but it's not necessarily impacting them so much. And safe resting areas, basically bolt holes, places they can go where they're, if they're feeling stressed, if they're worried about something, they can go, they can hide there and ride it out until the stress has passed. So these things need to be provided in a cat-friendly home. Toileting facilities and scratching opportunities I'm going to cover a bit later because I'm going to talk about particular behaviour problems about that. The indoor-outdoor debate is a bit of a controversial one, and lots of people have different views about it, so I just wanted to quickly mention there are benefits of keeping a cat exclusively indoors. Essentially, they will probably live longer, so that's a massive pro that is difficult to overlook. If you keep your cat indoors, you're probably going to have them much longer than if you let them outside. Owners are worried about road traffic accidents, different diseases, cats getting lost or stolen, disputes with neighbourhood cats, fights, that sort of thing. So you can see and understand why people would prefer to keep their cat inside. But of course there are benefits to outside access, which is more of a quality of life. It will give them a richer life, in theory. They do have that extra control and choice as to whether they want to go outside. It widens their territory and it gives them an extra place to explore. And it gives them an opportunity to avoid potential stresses that are at home. If the owner's having a party or they've got friends coming over with small kids, that cat can just go outside and just wait out there, and there's no downside to that. It gives them an opportunity to maintain a home range outside of their core territory. It gives them an opportunity to do all those natural cat behaviours. So spraying outside to communicate with the other cats in the area, scratching, exploring, foraging, all those sorts of things that they don't often get a chance to do inside only. So that's that. So there isn't really a definitive answer. In my opinion, it depends on the cat, their personality. So some cats will be happier with a more sedentary lifestyle. They can adapt to that very well, and they're not going to find it difficult to cope with being inside. Some cats are more outdoorsy. They want to go further. They want to explore and go off. So those cats are going to find it more difficult to cope with just being kept inside. And the environments themselves. Some indoor environments are very stimulating. They do offer those behaviours that the cat would be able to provide outside. And the outside environment can be a source of stress itself. If it's got a very high cat population, going out there might be very stressful for them. So sometimes keeping them out of that situation can actually be positive for their welfare. So yeah, it depends on your views and on your cat and on the environments that you've got, but one of those debates that often comes up. So when considering and thinking about behaviour problems and preventing them, we have to consider the medical side of things. I don't think there's any behaviour problems that can't be caused or at least influenced by medical factors. So by keeping your cat's health up to date, regular veterinary checkups and identifying any issues early, that can help prevent the onset of many behaviour problems. For example, if you've got an arthritic cat, that cat may not be able to get into the litter tray comfortably. It might be experiencing pain when it's trying to get over the edge of the side of the tray. So that cat may decide, instead of using the litter tray, I'll go and find somewhere quiet and comfortable to go instead. So if we can identify any medical issues early, that can prevent the onset of different behaviour problems. So the first behaviour problem I'm going to talk about is inappropriate toileting. It's a very common problem for a lot of owners. It's very hard to live with because it just takes over your life. Cat wee smells is horrible, and if it's happening daily, it can really take over your life. It can make them the owners a bit of a recluse. They don't want people coming around. It's really difficult to live with. What does it look like? So this cat's actually weeing to eliminate. That's the only reason for this behaviour, well, presumably. They're not spraying, they're not marking, they're just using this safe air to go to the toilet. So of course the owner's going to be cross and upset. And from the video we don't understand why he's doing it, but there are different things we consider, different factors to try and meet to prevent it from starting. Okay, so one of the most common reasons is the owner will rely on the cat going outside. The owner might think that it would naturally go outside if it was a feral cat, so of course it can just go outside when it's at home. There might be multiple reasons why they don't want to do that. Weather is the main one, it's a biggie. The ground might be too hard for them to dig. It might be snowing. It might be raining and miserable, and obviously that cat would prefer to go inside, and you might have many cats that still do go outside, because what's the alternative? They can either wee in their house where they like to sleep, eat and spend most of their time, or they can make themselves go outside in the rain. So lots of cats will, but then some won't. Some will just think, you know, actually, I don't want to go out. I'm going to stay in here. I'll find my own place to have a wee. There might also be disputes with neighbourhood cats or other cats in the same household. And actually, the act of toileting puts them in a very vulnerable position. They're not able to defend themselves readily. They can't really run away if something comes and pounces on them or stares at them while they're trying to go. So this can put them off from going. And it's quite obvious. I mean, none of us would wee in front of other people in the back garden. So you can understand why that cat would rather go inside. And thirdly, environmental disturbances. Just regular stuff that happens outside can actually put the cat off from going out there. The neighbours might be having some building work done. The bin lorry might be coming past at a certain time, and just things that in the environment that might spook them and might think they're not comfortable to actually toilet in that space. So, in my opinion, owners should always provide a litter tray inside. Even if the cat never uses it, it just gives them the option to use it if they need to. But just providing a litter tray inside doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to use it. So getting the litter tray itself right is a very important issue too. We've already heard that there should be one per cat in the household, plus another one, and they should all be located in separate locations. They must be a suitable size and shape for the cat. So when they're kittens, you want small litter trays with little lips so they can hop into it when they need to. As that cat grows, it's going to need a bigger tray, just so it's got enough space to maneuver it inside. You can have covered or uncovered, large and small, and sometimes it just takes a bit of trial and error to get the right tray. This cat in the picture, he's got all his paws balanced on the edge of the tray there. So he doesn't want to put his paws in the litter, which I can understand. So if his only option was a covered tray, he probably won't want to go in it because he has to put his paws in the litter. So if the owner took that tray away and just provided a covered one, you might find that cat goes behind the sofa or goes in the spare room or finds somewhere else to go where he doesn't have to get his paws dirty. There's lots of different types of litter itself. Normally the finer litter is preferred, like a sand-like texture, so they can rake it without it being too tough on their paw pads. And, in my opinion, avoid the liners and the scented litters. For a species that's so reliant on scent to identify their territory, why are we providing scented litters or air fresheners next to the litter tray? These things are just going to put the cat off from doing it. If you've got a cat in your house, that you have to put up with the litter tray. It's just a thing, rather than trying to keep it out of the way. And keep it clean, of course. Okay, so this is an example of in my opinion, terrible litter tray. And this cat is wondering what on earth is happening. And she's actually hissing. She's hissing at that tray. And a bit later on, she starts swiping at it. Oh, so she's not going to use that, obviously. And I don't know what this litter is, but it's blue. So presumably it could be scented. It's not a very natural substrate there. So obviously this owner is trying to provide a litter tray that's convenient for them. They don't have to clean it. But obviously this cat probably isn't going to use it and will probably just go elsewhere. The location of the tray is important. So we've already said that they need to be located separately if you've got more than one. But again, this needs to be a convenient location for the cat, not the owner. Most people will provide the litter tray in the bathroom, in the kitchen, places they don't spend much of their leisure time. They don't want it in the lounge or in the bedrooms where they're spending most of their time. But these areas are the more busy areas. So people coming in and out of the toilet, flushing the chain, closing the door for a shower, or the washing machine's going off. And these things are all going to put the cat off from using the litter tray. The washing machine might not be on, but the cat might have remembered last time it went there. It was on, it was rumbling, it was loud, and it's just going to put them off from going in that place again. So a quiet, secluded location. In my opinion, bedrooms are perfect. It's fine, there's not much going on, and when it is, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's a nice place to go. And it shouldn't be too far away from where they spend most of their time. Where I live, there's a lot of 3-story houses, and a lot of cats will be at the top. That's where they spend a lot of their time, but the litter tray is always on the bottom. So we want to make it easy for that cat to use it. We don't want him to think, oh, I've got to go down 2 flights of stairs to get to the litter tray when they're spending most of their time at the top. So just trying to see it from the cat's point of view can be really helpful to stop this inappropriate toy thing. The cat genie. I don't know if this is a plumbed-in litter tray, but I can't see anything right with it. So for a start, it's got this massive lip. And this is quite a large cat, but it's still having a bit of difficulty getting in. It's tiny, it hasn't got any space to manoeuvre in there, and it seems to be balanced on like a block of board in a bath. So it's not the most ideal location. This cat is still using it, bless it, and a lot of cats will use what's available because they haven't got any alternative than to soil their living space. And yes, the presence of other cats. So there's lots of advice we could give to this owner if that cat started to use other areas in the household for weeing. Right, so urine marking. This is when, I'm sure everyone knows, it's when they deposit a small amount of urine as a chemical message. So it's not elimination itself, it's a message for other cats in the territory, or it can be a reassuring signal to themselves, like putting our pictures on the wall. It's familiar, it's a familiar scent, a familiar sort of bit in the territory. Another one that's super frustrating for owners, particularly when you see your cat approaching a wall, backing up, raising its tail and treading those back feet. Everyone just wants to grab the nearest thing and throw it to the cat to stop them from doing it, which isn't uncommon, to be fair. But this cat is probably stressed. It's probably experiencing some sort of stress and anxiety, and that's causing them to perform the behaviour. So to help prevent the behaviour, the main things to consider or to focus on is social stress and environmental stress. So if we cover social stress first, this could be conflict with other cats in the household. So if you've got, it doesn't necessarily mean you've got too many cats, it can just be 2 that just don't get on very well. So think before adopting another cat. Like we heard from Trudy, some cats just want to be a single cat, they don't have a biological need for extra cats to be there, they don't live in that sort of way naturally. If you have bought a second cat home, or if the owner's got more than one cat at home already, resources need to be distributed appropriately. So give them an opportunity to avoid each other, allow them to maintain their own separate territories in the same house, to allow them to live separate lives in the same house. So they're not necessarily having to interact by crossing over territories. One can literally go up here, it's got everything it needs in this part of the house, the other one's got everything it needs in a different part of the house. Just gives them an opportunity to avoid each other, and then if they do meet, it's going to hopefully mean they'll be more tolerant of each other because they're not constantly having these negative interactions and bringing down their relationship each day. Conflict with neighbourhood cats is much more difficult to control. You can't control how many cats are in the garden, and sometimes the cat population, particularly in terraced houses where you've got rows and rows of houses all backing onto one another, you can get masses of cats coming in. So if there's a particular cat your cat's fallen out with, perhaps you could speak to that owner, and decide maybe a timeshare arrangement so they're not out there at the same time. But more realistically, it's going to be more of a management thing. So making the garden a bit more cat-proofed, so they're not lots of cats coming and going. Often, like, they'll use the fences as like thoroughfares to get to the next garden. So if you can make your fence a little bit difficult for them to traverse, you might find you get less cats in the garden. And a microchip cat flap is essential to make sure you don't get unwanted cats in the houses. I just wanted to mention neutering. If the cat's not neutered, they're much more likely to spray because there's that extra reason if they wanted to attract a mate. So hopefully everyone's cat will be neutered. But if not, that can be a big factor in spraying. And environmental stresses, it's like I mentioned earlier, so they might have stuff happening at home that's making them feel unsettled. Building work is a big one. It comes with lots of stresses, so new people coming and going, different sounds, different noises. They've denied access to a place they normally can get to. So it can be a lot for them to cope with. Also, anything that changes the scent profile in the house, so redecorating, new furniture. Some cats even spray it on shopping bags or shoes when they bring in, just because they're bringing in unfamiliar scents, and they're using their spraying to make it feel familiar and make it feel okay for them, basically. So it's just a case of getting to know the cat. What things do you find stress them out? What can they cope with? What can't they cope with? That will allow you to prepare for big changes. If you know you're having building work done or they're redecorating, you can put the cat in a different part of the house or not allow them into that bit where you have those changes done. And they can have coping strategies such as, like I mentioned earlier, hide places to go, hide in areas to make sure that they can cope with the situation while it's happening. And for some changes, you might find it's easier to put the cat in a boarding category if it's big changes, so they don't have to cope with that while it's going on. Swiftly moving on to aggression. So aggressive behaviour can range from hissing, vocalisations, those sort of things, to attacking with teeth and claws. Can be really serious, particularly for elderly people or children. So it's really important to, if we can, prevent this from happening. There are lots of different motivations, but the ones I'm going to talk about are fear, unwanted petting, and inappropriate play. But often, there's loads of stuff happening. So if we can prevent these from happening, it's easier than trying to pick apart aggression that's already going on. This is really distressing. That cat is so fearful. You can see his tail is pulled right down, his fur is on end, his eyes are super dilated, and his ears are so flat that it doesn't look like he's got any. So bless this cat is not attacking, but if you tried to pick him up or you tried to touch him and stroke him, you would obviously get a very serious attack. That's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. And they've got some like
it's a plant or something, isn't it, they're chasing him with?
I don't know what's happening there. So this is what you're looking at in a very intense, fearful situation. You don't want them to interact with these cats. Move away, give them space, let them calm down. To prevent this from happening, when you get a cat, choose a well-socialised cat that's had lots of handling and has a friendly, confident temperament, which is like the perfect cat that you very rarely actually come across, particularly if it's a rescue cat. It's all too understandable when you see the tiny one that's hiding behind the curtain and doesn't want to come out, to go and get that one and take it home. But that's the one that's probably going to show a more fearful temperament, and you just have to bear in mind you might have to deal with that as that cat grows. Obviously, any cats that have had negative experiences are more likely to respond like this as well. So it's about having an understanding of cat body language and respecting the signs they're giving off. So obviously that cat before should have just been left alone immediately, and it should have happened way down the scale before it was anywhere near that fearful. And help the cat cope with situations they feel threatened in. If you know the cat is scared of a green plant, don't go near the cat with the plant. Get rid of the plant. So be on their side, respect what they want, and just be kind. Unwanted or inappropriate petting is another big one that happens. This is my husband, and I'm always telling him not to pick up the cat like that. Oh, he loves it.
It's good reputations though.
I know, and I told him, I'm putting you in, you look like a donut. Yeah, so with this, the signalling can vary. Sometimes it will seem like there's no warning, and for sometimes there isn't, because if you're stroking the cat and they've learned, last time I bit you, I gave you all these signals, you ignore them, but when I bit you, you stopped, next time they'll go straight to the bite. So of course sometimes there is no warning, but it doesn't mean there hasn't been, and it hasn't escalated from there. And often there's no vocalisation because it can just be a quick, swift stop. Right, so this cat seems to give no warning. So for a start, this cat has not gone to the boy for a stroke. The boy's gone over to the cat. She's not even looking in his direction. And she's not doing that thing, you know, when you stroke a cat and they're really into it and they're all buffy and lovely. She's just minding her own business. But we watch it again. If you watch her tail and her ears, and she does that quick head turn, the signals are there. So tail, ears are going, and then there. Stop at any of these points. But this mum would probably come and say, my cat just bit my son out of nowhere. My cat's aggressive, my cat's, you know, unpleasant. But just a normal response, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so preventing that is interact on the cat's terms. Call them over, see if they want a stroke. Offer them your hand, give it on their terms. Learn what the cat can tolerate. Some of them don't like the base of their tail being touched. Obviously, there's the whole tummy thing. Some love it, some don't. And just respect it. And watch the body language. If you see those little signs, then back off and let them recover. Inappropriate play. This will happen alongside these sort of body language things. So there'll be signs of the predatory sequence. There'll be stalking, crouching. So this cat's not being aggressive. She's being lovely. But she is displaying all those other behaviours you get. So she's not fearful in any way. She's crouching, stalking, the tail's going, her ears are forward. So this is the sort of behaviours you might see alongside the aggression, but she's being really, really gentle. So that's not a problem for that owner, that's fine. And the reason this sort of problem develops is this, I couldn't resist putting this in, because the most adorable kitten ever. And obviously you're going to play with that kitten with your fingers because you only have to wiggle them and the kitten will be there. So of course, loads of us would, although we know we shouldn't. So when that cat is bigger, her claws are going to be sharper, her teeth are going to be bigger, and then if she did this exact situation, it would be a behaviour problem. The owners would be unhappy. Oh, she keeps biting me, and yeah, it wouldn't be ideal. But obviously, at this age, it's fine. And it's difficult for the cat. They can become conflicted because this is a very positive interaction for you and the cat. All of a sudden, they're getting met with a punishment when it hurts them. The owner is pushing the cat away, shouting. You know, it becomes a negative experience. So that cat becomes very conflicted, and it's feeling, oh, I want to go and have that positive interaction. Oh, hang on, it's actually a negative interaction. So it can lead to very complicated problems, like this. So this guy thinks it's hilarious to play with his cat like this, but this is horrible. This cat's not having a good time, and he is getting hurt, and you'll see by the end he's got bites and scratch marks all up his arms. And there probably is some element of fear here. He's probably got to the point where, what will he do if that cat doesn't grab that hand? Is he going to grab the cat's head? So this cat, it could have started off as play with the owner's hand, but now it's just developed into this. And as a behaviourist, if you came to help that cat, if that cat did that to an unsuspecting person, that owner would think this cat is, you know, off the scale of aggression, but it's just learned that that's what we do. So it'd be a very hard one to unpick. Okay, so prevent, don't play with hands and feet. Don't wind them up. Just use toys, hands-off toys, so the wand toys, ping-pong balls, anything that keeps your hands out of it. Outside access will give them a hunting opportunity, and activity feeding will channel some of those predatory behaviours to get their food from that. Right, so 2 types of aggression between cats: passive, active. Passive aggression is going to be blocking, staring, intimidation, rather than the chasing and fighting, and we want to reduce both of those. So again, careful consideration before bringing another cat home. Introduce them carefully and distribute resources properly. So inappropriate scratching, very annoying for owners. It's the reason why in-laws won't get a cat, because they don't want to risk their sofa being scratched. Potential causes: unsuitable scratching facilities or none at all. Cats have to scratch, you can't teach them not to, and to try isn't very welfare friendly. So you need to provide something, and it must be better than the sofa. It must be sturdy enough that it can put up with the cats raking their claws down it to maintain the claws. So it can't be wobbly, it can't topple over. Like, this is one of those tiny kitten ones, and obviously the cat's got a bit bigger and it's just toppling over. Some cats prefer vertical, so if the cat's scratching the carpet and you've got beautiful vertical scratch posts, probably just want something horizontal. So you can get one of the cardboard scratch boards that they can sit on and have a good scratch. Location's important too. Often they'll have a scratch when they get up, so position one near where they like to spend time sleeping, so they can get up and have a bit of a scratch. And finally, frustration is classically when, say, the owners have had a baby, all of a sudden the cat is not allowed in at night time. So they will be scratching at that door trying to get in because that's what they've done every time of the night. So if that's happening, or if you're worried that might happen, to prevent it from happening, confine them into an area of the house away from the door, downstairs, in a comfortable place with everything they need, to not make it so tempting that they might be able to get in if they start scratching at the door. If that's not possible, protect the carpet with a tile, carpet tile, or some other sort of barrier, and do not reinforce the behaviour. Even shouting, "Stop doing that," is going to obviously reinforce that behaviour. And the amount of people that say, "Oh, it went on for so long, I just let them in," or you'll just train them to do it for longer. So yeah, that's an important one to prevent too. And that's it. So behaviour problems are a problem for owner, but can also identify when the cat is stressed. So by preempting them, we can make happy owners and happy cats. And I think it's just about respecting the cat's needs, understand the cat and do what it wants, and you'll have a happy life.